it is solving a problem, you will have to prove that with substantial data. And substantial data, it has to be tested in a clinical environment. It has to have certain clinical outcomes, and that outcomes has to be given to certain certifying authority or a regulatory body, and they give approval for you to sell the device based on the classification. Or if it is just an ophthalmic device, it doesn't require any regulatory guidelines as far as
you may be aware in
yeah.
CDSU has listed about 12
yeah.
devices, which are actually regulated.
Yeah.
So those which are not in that listing.
Yeah.
So as far as I understand, you can just make it and start selling.
But in order to get the acceptance, you need data. So if you go to any doctor and you say that I want,
between me and doctor,
yeah.
I would not have a regulatory challenge.
If it is not a regulated devices, it is not a medical device in their purview, right. And you could go about
but
getting
if goes wrong with
yes.
It, then maybe later.
Then you'll have to get a recall and get it. So I think
they also run into regulatory hurdles later. Even
yes,
if it's not listed.
I think it is important for you to get quality certificates because in terms of safety, everything is checked. There are checks and balances when there is processes and there is everything is in place. If there is a quality certificate for you, ISO 13485, you will have CAPA, so corrective preventive action. So yeah.
Like if you do FDSC for ISO,
yeah.
They have everything in place.
Yeah.
But Indian CDSU, I think, has only 12 or 13 devices.
Now it is being updated. They are updating. Still not much out there, but they are keeping notifying that. So there are notified medical devices that if your device falls under that medical device, so you have to get a regulatory approval in order for you to commercialize it. If your device is not notified, then you will have to prove the efficacy or effectiveness, which will be useful for your marketing when you are selling it to a distributor. Even the distributor will ask, I want the clinical data. I want to know how many patients you have tested, what is the clinical outcomes, what is the efficacy, what is the success rate, all these things. So you could sell 1 or 2 devices, but it is always important that when you have a prototype ready for market, you want to make sure that you have enough data which is being tested. You could do paid pilots. Some hospitals might be willing to pay for the device, but still they can give you data with ethics committee approval. So you need, it is important to do a clinical validation. So preclinical validation could be something you test it in your labs, do a usability study, bench study, and then you get data. Then you are satisfied with the results, you could go ahead with clinical trials. Yeah. So I would also be covering, because a lot of these innovation require a lot of money, funding. So I'll also give my perspective of how to go about pitching for investors or how to go about pitching for grant writings, or, things like that. So how to refine your pitching, how to refine your grant writing in terms of writing the need statement to problem statement, how to have a specific, based on my expertise and perspective. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. So it depends on the product. It depends on the certifying agency. So there are some notified bodies. It could be, UL. UL is a certifying agency, and there is TUV. TUV is a certifying. They do certifications. They do audits. So they do all this regulatory stuff. So if you are developing something which is basically a screening device for specific diseases, and you are getting some certifications. For example, there is a device which is basically checking whether the baby is able to hear or not when the baby is born, and they are checking whether the baby is able to hear, screening the ear. So that device, they have done a lot of. They have did ISO 13485, and now they have gone for FDA. So it doesn't require any regulatory as such, but it requires a lot of certifications in terms if you want to prove the safety and all. They have priced it around 3 lakh something. Existing devices are like anywhere between 5-10 lakhs. But once you have a certifications, it is very good on a long term. Yeah, and acceptance will be there. Yeah. Yeah, UL is one, but it requires a lot of money in terms of to get there. You will have to start with prototyping process, and you will have to keep applying for this idea to POC grant opportunities, and POC, you'll have to validate. There is another grant opportunities from Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, Department of Science and Technology, and also there's international grants available, like Bill and Melinda Gates, Grand Challenges Canada, and yeah, so I think a lot of people would be interested to give a grant if you have a novel idea, if you are solving a problem which is worth for a specific market, for a specific need. For example, Government of India might be interested to solve maternal and child problem. So they would want to give a lot of focus on that specific area under certain schemes. So you could apply for those specific schemes. There are a lot of grants in BIRAC you can apply. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot.